They say when a baby is born, so is a mother. But while you are there to help your baby grow into the person he or she is meant to be, who is there to help you? Many women feel lost and alone when they become mothers, wondering, who am I now? Sometimes it feels like the transformation from woman to mother is as radical as a caterpillar's transformation into a butterfly. Did you know that inside the chrysalis, the caterpillar literally turns into goop before it rearranges itself into a butterfly? This podcast is about the goop, what soul transformation looks like as you transition from being a woman to a mom. Your baby's growth matters, but yours does too. You're not alone. I'm your host, Brittany Ming. Welcome to the Motherhood Metamorphosis.
Welcome everyone to this episode of the Motherhood Metamorphosis. I'm your host, Brittany Ming, and today we're talking to Leslie Means. Leslie is the founder and owner of the popular website Her View from Home, which features heartfelt contributor stories on motherhood, marriage, faith, and grief. She is a former news anchor, published children's book author, weekly columnist for the Kearney Hub, and has published several short stories. She is married to a very patient man named Kyle, and together they have 3 fantastic kids, Ella, Grace, and Keithan. When she's not sharing too much personal information online or in the newspaper, you'll find her somewhere in Nebraska spending time with family and friends. I love that intro.
Thank you.
All right, I'm super excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just want to acknowledge the weirdness that comes from me being like, oh, I know Leslie because I watch her videos in Her View, and you being like, no, I never really talked to her before, but like, it's cool.
I love it.
It's all cool. Yeah.
We're all connected. I feel like we all are, because we're all kind of doing the same thing. And, we all have to have some kind of level of bravery to be able to do what we're doing. So
yes, exactly.
We get it. And my kids I always find this to be an interesting, they are 13, 11, and 5, which I think is really good for running this website that is really for parents pretty much with kids at home, right? So I feel like I'm kind of in all of those ages and stages with other moms.
Yes, I've got a big spread with my kids too, because I have 14 to 2. So I've got like the teens and the toddlers and 2 in between. So it's really crazy. I feel like my brain is just trying to stay in all of these developmental stages, and I'm basically just going crazy.
Just going crazy.
With all of it. Yeah.
It's like, I know it's wonderful and beautiful and messy, but it really is hard to focus because you're doing so many different things. And next year we'll have 2 middle schoolers, and then our youngest will start kindergarten. But then after that, it'll be high school, middle school, grade school. And so that's going to be a whole new game as well.
Yeah. I think I'm going to have high schoolers, a middle schooler, a grade schooler, or 2 grade schoolers. So I'm going to like hit every point, but I'm not there yet. So I'm like,
right. You're close.
I'm very close. My twins start high school next year. I cannot believe it. I'm like, I'm registering you for high school and driver's ed. Like, what is happening? I can't think about this. No.
I know. And how do we get to that point? I remember being like 13, 14. So how do I have a kid that is that old? That's been in my head a lot.
Yeah,
too.
It is. I think it's one of those those moments of pause. And then you're like, I can't stay too long there because I don't even know what's happening. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. I don't want to be sad.
I know. Well, I wanted to have you on because I love your story, and I love on the podcast, a big theme is this transformation from woman to mom and being patient with ourselves in that process, because that transformation of saying, this is who I was, this is who I am, and kind of capturing who you want to be as this new person takes an intense amount of patience. And I think that's a story we don't tell a lot, is the story about patience in finding that new person and pursuing passions as a mom. And I love your story because it is one of patience. And I just would love to hear it. Like how you followed your dreams, even through motherhood, and how it's taken a lot longer than maybe you would have originally planned.
I think it's interesting looking back now, because Her View will be 10 in April. And I could talk a little bit about the process of how we started, but how 10 years ago, first of all, when I started the site, I was so naive. I mean, I don't find myself naive to the world. I feel like I have a good grasp of what is going on around me. But I also kind of live in this fluffy cloud, fluffy bubble of everything is good and I want to be positive and all this. And that's both a wonderful thing and like a detriment to me. But I know that 10 years ago when I started, I was in that cloud, that fluffy bubble that I can do this. This is totally something that can happen. And had I known everything that it would take to get to where we are, heck no, I wouldn't have started this 10 years ago. So I find that interesting. And that patience process has really helped through the 10 years because I didn't really have a clue what I was doing. So how have you started? You want me to get into that a little bit? Okay.
Yes, that'd be great.
So my background is broadcast journalism. So I was in TV for about 7 years. And I talk a lot about whispers and, God's calling on your life and things in the writing community. And my girls were little. They were 2 and like 6 months or something. And I'm in TV and it's great. And I started this local talk show and it was where we got to interview the best of Nebraska people and places. So it was really fun. It was better than when I was anchoring. It was better than reporting because people would come to me and we would interview them on this show. And it was really kind of a dream gig. My hours were great. They were like 6 a.m. to 1 p.m., which was much better than my former hours. So here I am. I'm in this great spot. And I can look back at it now and I feel like it was really like God saying, you should take a different route. But I was like, I am not, it wasn't, I wasn't happy because I was happy, but I felt like there was something more that I was supposed to be doing, which was so strange because I loved these people. I really loved what I was doing, but it was the weirdest thing. And, I had interviewed so many people on the show, and I actually got a call one day from a woman that I knew from our local chamber of commerce. And we were friends. I'd known her a few times through interviews. That was about it. And she left a message on my answering machine. And she said, Leslie, hey, I have something to talk to you about. Can you give me a call when you're done with your show? So when I heard her message, I thought, gosh, wouldn't that be really cool if she had a job for me? I mean, this is how weird this is. I'm like, and I called her and she said, hey, we have this position open at the Chamber of Commerce. Do you think you'd be interested? And I was like, what? Yeah, like, this is so weird. And here I am again, fluffy cloud, broadcast journalism girl who actually thinks I can go into a business community and do that. Me, apparently. So I left TV. I went into the chamber business world and I really got a sense of how businesses work and how they were started and met people in the business community and really kind of got that passion and fire under me. But I missed the creative piece that I had on TV. And so through a series of events is when I was like, well, what if it actually started with 2 other women, her view from home. I was like, what if we start a business, start a website that's similar to what I did in TV and let people tell their stories? Because that's always been my jam. I love storytelling. I love to hear other people's stories. And actually through the chamber, I learned about a business plan competition, and the award was $10,000, and we ended up winning. And because I had no money and no business sense to start.
You're like, I'm going to win this competition. It's gonna
right. This is how I am. So we won the $10,000. And then I actually went into local businesses of people that I knew through my TV days. And I said, I know this sounds nuts, but I have this idea to start a website where women share their stories. Do you want to advertise on it? Because I did know how that worked. I knew how the media advertising worked. I said, do you want to give me like $200 and I will put your business up on the website? And they said, sure. I'm just like, so, it's interesting to me how all of that really started. And I like how you say patience with that, because I had this belief that I knew it would work. And so I just had to keep going. And the early years, were really very hard. The first 4 years didn't make any money. And my other 2 business partners left because they were like, Leslie, sorry, this is not making money, which totally understood. And I was still working full time. And I'm just like crazy enough to believe, I'm like, no, I just really think that this is going to be successful. I want to keep going. And it was 2016, I believe, when my husband encouraged me. He was like, look, do you think you can make this a full-time gig enough to, pay bills each month? And I said, I think I can. And we both knew that if it didn't, that I could go back and get a job again, like I'd made enough connections. I could probably get a job if I had to. So we were going to give it a go. And 2016, the business is broke. It's like we're really small. And I found out I was expecting my 3rd baby. And like normally, and this is the story that I always share, because normally, like any normal person in this situation would panic, right? There's no money, you're pregnant. Maybe you better just like quit this weird dream and go get a real job. But I just had this peace that it was going to be okay. And we refinanced our house that month. So we had 1 month of not paying our mortgage. And I knew I would have 1 month to make the website work. And during that month, we received an email from a woman who found us. And we were really small then, like 18,000 Facebook followers. Now we have like over 1 million. And she found us and she said, Leslie, I've been praying about it. I really want to share my story on Her View from Home. And I was like, yes, absolutely. We'd be honored. And it was a piece where her friend had died by suicide after 4 months after her baby was born. And I said, gosh, yeah, we would be, humbled, honored to share that. And we published that, and the site completely changed. And not long after we published it, I received an email from a woman who said, thank you for publishing that piece. It saved my life. And first of all, I'm so proud of myself for getting through that without bawling. This is I'm usually really bawl, but I knew then that there was so much purpose and I had to keep going. And the site was never the same afterwards. And it was that patience that you talk about, of how I didn't know what was coming, but I had to be patient for it. And I don't know why I was, honestly, because people will ask, well, how did you know? And I'm like, I just, when you have, like, as a mom, you have a gut instinct, right? It was that same thing for the business. So that was a really long answer.
No, that was great. No, I love the narrative. I love the story. And I remember when that article came out, like I was not a Her View writer yet, but that article went viral.
It was everywhere.
So it was everywhere. And it's so powerful. Every time you share it, I think I read it.
Yeah.
Because it's just that article that says we have to see our friends. Like, we have to reach out. We have to see people for who they are and what they're struggling with. And it is powerful. And I think that the stories you do share on Her View do change lives.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's, I don't remember, I don't know. My first daughter was born in 2008, right? You were probably around that same time too.
2007.
I don't remember people, I don't know if we were just so inundated in it or everything was changing, but I don't really remember people talking about hard stuff as much online, because really it was so new. Blogging was so new. Everything was. And so really, when her piece came out, was the first time, even though we'd, been running Her View for 4 or 5 years at that point, that was the first time I really felt like people are brave to share these stories, and that it's so common and so many moms go through these struggles. And it just felt like another level of importance, that we need to keep providing this platform for women to share these real, raw, vulnerable, powerful messages with other women, and that just keeps me and keeps it going through the years, is all the writers and their brave stories that they share.
Yeah. and I'm so happy that I'm part of it too, because
I know, I'm so
I'm
glad
with you. And yeah, it's been so I'll share this story with you. I had submitted a story one time and it was rejected, but Carolyn said submit again. But I was like, man, that sucks. And then I got busy and I didn't submit for like another year. And then I did submit a story and it was accepted. But I had written down in a little sticky note on my computer sites to write for or sites to submit for, and Her View for Home was on there for a really long time.
I love
So
that.
that was on
And can we touch on that too? Because there is, I don't even know what the count is now. Thousands of pieces we've published, 13, 14, 15,000, something like that. I'm not sure. And we get hundreds, if not thousands of pieces in each month. And so our editors are fantastic. And I'm so glad that I don't have to have that hard job anymore of reading through each piece. But so often the pieces that come in, they're all good. We just share so many of the same topics. And so we really have to kind of, switch it out and change things up. And I love that. Even Carolyn and I were having this conversation about something that she should write about this week. And she's like, but Leslie, everybody's told that story. And I even had to tell her, I said, but nobody's told it like you, and that isn't it so interesting how we can be moms around the globe, and yet we have all these common threads, these common themes in our lives of motherhood. We're so connected. It's such a small world, even though it feels big. It really is very small, and we really do understand and relate to each other on the same topics.
I think that is what makes Her View powerful. And I think that's what makes you really relatable to people, because you have shared this story both online and in our writing group. Mm-hmm. I think that it inspires people to keep going and pursuing their dreams. I think a lot of women still want to press into what's important to them through their motherhood. And it's easy sometimes to feel that all these needs and pressures and things that are pressing into my life, maybe it's my kids or marriage or financial things, can cloud out your own dreams. So can you speak to the idea of saying, hey, I'm still going to press into what's important to me, even when I'm carrying all of these really heavy things in my life as a mom?
So basically keep going for your dreams, even though you can't right now, type of, That's a great question. I'm going to start with everyone's timing is good. Do you know what I mean? The theme a lot of times, actually someone that just told me this not long ago too, she said, with book publishing, she said, I think it's too late for me, Leslie. I was like, too late? You're like 41. You are not, if you're too late, I'm too late, because just now with Her View, are we finally getting a book published next year? And it took us 9 years before we even reached out to an agent to even get it started. And actually, they asked me too, when we talked to them recently, they said, why now? Why did it take you, 9 years to get started? And I can look back on it now and know that I could not do any more. I could not do one more thing. And I've had to learn that the hard way. I think a lot of us as moms do, when it all comes crumbling and breaking down, you're like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm doing too much. I have to set some boundaries. So I knew that throughout those years, I couldn't take on one more thing, but I didn't let the dream of that stop. And I think we have to get out of our own way a little bit of thinking, oh, it's too late, or, oh, this is not going to happen for me. Like I truly at age 40, just now that my kids are all really kind of old enough to, not need me at every step of the way, do I feel like I can start things again. And when you're in those like first years of motherhood, all you're trying to do, for me, all I'm trying to do, it was make enough money to help pay bills and make sure the kids stayed alive. That's all I could really do. And I do believe that's why Her View took so long, is because I was working on it during lunch breaks and in the evenings, but I was doing just enough to keep that creative vibe flowing, knowing that eventually I would be able to put more and more into it. So if that kind of answers that question, I think we just need to get out of our own heads a little bit. Like I know, I already know someday a novel that I want to write and publish, but I'm not even in my head, I'm not even planning to start writing it until I'm like in my 60s. Like I already know what I want to talk about, but I'm like, I am no way close to doing that. But I have these dreams and hopes and goals for it. But I know that right now is also not the time.
I think that's really wise. And I think it's also, it gives perspective
Mhm.
to this hustle culture where we think we have to do all the things all the
Yep.
time. And we have that voice that says, it's going to be too late, or I missed the boat, or if I didn't take this opportunity, then somehow I'm never going to fulfill that dream. And I think that it does take time, and there are seasons for things. I was just listening to this podcast last night. It was Brene Brown's Unlocking Us, and
Yes.
she was speaking to actually a good friend of hers, and her friend was saying the topic was trying to find joy in doing the good things in your life when you feel burnt out. And her friend said there are seasons for leaning in and there are seasons for pulling back.
Mhm.
And we often think we have to be on all the time. But if you just look at nature, there's the ebb and flow of the tide, and there's the waxing and the waning of the moon. And we can't think, I am going to be the sun shining 24/7.
Yep.
There is times for pulling back, and then there's times for leaning in. And I think in young motherhood, we often want to feel like ourselves. We want to feel like those dreams are still there and vibrant, but our physical and mental and emotional capacities are being given to these young children, and they take up a lot of time. So I
Yep.
think there's also like that grief of saying, but I can't do what I want to do if I give everything to my kids right now. But that is that, the waxing and the waning,
Yep. I
like,
love that. And who says that we can't do it later? That's just us, right? That's us
mhm.
putting those limits on ourselves when really there are no rules to all of this stuff. Yes, it feels overwhelming because social media keeps changing, but you're smart. You're going to figure it out in 3 years if you want to get started then. That's the stuff I think we just need to make sure that we're careful with the hustle culture. Yes, I think that has burned a lot of people out. It burned me out. Last spring about this time, we had everything go. Everything was huge. Like we had like 7 things in the works that was just boom, 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 all huge success. And it really got to be too much. And it was super overwhelming. And I had to personally step back for a couple months. And looking at it now, a year later, I think, gosh, I'm so glad I went through what I went through because I feel even more prepared for our book. But even when I'm thinking of the website and what we're doing, I have the website and the book are the 2 big things that we're really focused on right now. So it feels maybe like we're doing a lot of things, but truly I'm only focusing on it in business, those 2 things, keep those things running and doing well. Because I know that if I do more, which I have, I will crumble and it's exhausting. Then I don't have boundaries. Then I'm mad at my family. Then I don't get off my phone at night, and I'm just an irritable, angry person, and it's not a life I want to live. But I don't feel behind, even though it's taking us 10 years to really get moving and rolling on these goals. There's a reason that we have a turtle as our mascot. Slow and steady wins the race. I mean, I've said this for years that this is not a sizzle in the pan for me. I don't see myself stopping this in a few years. I see the Hervey from Home brand in some way, shape, or form being around for the next 30 years. And so when I remember that, then I don't get so caught up in that hustle. You got to do this, you got to do that, because otherwise I will. It's easy to look around you and compare if you're not careful, if you don't have those healthy boundaries set
Mhm.
up.
Yeah, I've had that in my own life, and because I had a collective website that I ran for 2.5 years, And it was like my baby, because I stopped working when my son was diagnosed with autism and I had to start taking him to all these appointments. And I'm like, I need something for me. I need something for me. And I'm like, I'm going to start this collective website. It's called Mothering Beyond Expectations. And I built it up from scratch. And it I loved it. Like I had these core writers and I had guest writers and we were publishing all these things.
Yep.
And then we moved to England and I got pregnant 2 weeks after. I mean, like I got pregnant, I wasn't even 2 weeks after. I got pregnant like in the ether. Like somehow my husband looked at me on the plane and winked. And then like there was
It just happened.
Yeah. And that was like that pregnancy, like rocked the foundation of my life. It was so hard. And then I was in this new country and I was just trying to survive. Literally, I was just trying to survive. And I kept trying to get that website back on its feet. And I'm like, this was my dream. This was my goal. This is what I was pursuing. And I had to let it go. And that was so profoundly, I mean, I had to grieve over that. And every time I thought about telling all my core writers, I think we need to let it go, like I would cry. And I cried about this for months before I finally wrote the email. And I had to say, what am I going to choose in my life right now? And I had to choose my mental health. And I had to choose just trying to learn how to live in England and drive on the right side of the road.
Right.
And not.
How brave was that? Do you know what I mean?
Back, I'm like, that was so brave.
That was so brave.
So hard.
So you know what I keep saying? It has taken me 10 years, almost 9.5 years, to start my own personal social media pages. It's a thing, whatever. So I have been writing, once a week for the last 10, 11 years for local papers. It would have been so easy to just publish what I wrote in the paper on a Facebook page. Like, Leslie, that's not difficult, but I didn't do it. And for lots of reasons, I don't think I know. I was terrified. I was terrified to do it. But I'm the story. I'm like the one who interviews, right? I get to help people tell their stories. That's been my job. That was my background. That was TV. And so every time I'm posting something on my personal page now, which is terrifying, I just keep thinking of all these writers we published. I'm like, holy cats, do these guys know how brave they are? Because this is really hard. Like this is really hard. I only submitted to like 2 other websites before Herbie from Home and definitely got rejected. I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm starting my own. This is too hard. So I'm just like, wow, I hope these women know that when they're sharing their stories, that this is really scary and vulnerable. Vulnerable is the word, because we are putting our hearts out there for internet strangers to rip them apart. What are we doing? But it feels like we have to, but I took so long to get started. And if I'm not careful, I'll be like, it's too late. Even our editor be like, what are you working on your personal social pages, Leslie? I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine. They're there. I'm telling stories, but am I going to make memes? I don't really know. Like there's some things I can only do for the business, other things that I don't know if I could do for me, but I think it will come in time, as long as I remember that I'm not too late in that scene.
Yeah. I think that's such really good encouragement to say, anytime I am pursuing my dreams, no matter how long it takes, I'm stepping into bravery.
Yeah.
And not beating myself up for saying you've let yourself go, or you haven't tried hard enough, or because I don't know. For me, I can just say like I failed myself, like for saying I'm shutting down this website, like I'm failing myself, but I wasn't. And I just had to take the time to live. And then later, new dreams emerged. I mean, I have this podcast and I'm sharing a lot of the same types of stories that I did on the website. It just looks different now. And I think that our dreams can do that too. I think they can shift. And then we say, hey, I'm able to look up and be brave and step into something new. And that's good for me. It doesn't mean the past thing was a failure. It just means that I'm transforming.
Yeah. And it's hard to see that. It's hard to see that when you're in it. So when you're saying, you're feeling like a, not failure, because that's not right. But when you closed it down, before when I was in TV and before the job that came from the phone call, I had applied for another job and I did not get it. And I remember sliding down, I mean, in dramatic fashion, in dramatic Leslie fashion. I remember being in my kitchen and sliding down the like cupboard door and just sobbing. And I think actually I wrote about it even on my personal Facebook page. And I just was like, oh, I'm it. Like, I'm 28 years old. I want to quit TV. What am I doing? And it feels dramatic, but it was very heavy at the time. But looking back, I'm so glad I didn't take this, that I don't think that would have led me in the path where I am today. So it's so hard. And I hate it when people, not hate, because that's a strong word. My dad always says, don't use the word hate. I dislike it when people say in the moment, there is something else coming, but there's so much truth to that. There are so many other doors opening that you just don't know right now because you're so in the muck. But so it's easier to see how it all works once you're out of that.
Yeah. I think just breathing into the space we're in and saying, here I am is a good place. And I'm still learning about who I am and what's possible for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when at the right moment, when I feel like I'm not so inundated or I don't feel so much pressure or I feel healthier in my mental or physical health, like then I'll be ready.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll be able to seek new opportunities, or maybe new opportunities will seek me.
Yep.
So it's like saying, hey, we're not done and it's going to be okay. And I think there's hope in that.
There's so much hope in that. And we keep changing, right? As we get older, like things just perspectives change and we learn more about ourselves. And yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So I always start with tell me your story, which we did, and I kind of get lost in the middle of my.
I know, sorry, I just
nope. This was great. That's exactly what I like to do is just go wherever it leads.
Yeah.
But I love to end with this last question of what would you tell another woman who's walking a path of feeling frustrated and trying to follow her dreams and realizing, okay, this is going to take a lot more, or this path is a lot rockier, or being patient sucks.
What would I tell her? I love this question. You have to find one person who believes in you, like truly believes in you. Doesn't tell you what you want to hear. See, now I get, dang it, I thought I was going to get through without being emotional. But is truly supports you. And it doesn't matter who it is. It can be a friend. In real life friend, it can be a friend online, it could be your mom, your grandpa, whoever it is. You've got to find one person who can support you. I look back on my life and everything I've done, and I know with her view, I couldn't have done it without my husband, who not once said, you're kind of nuts, even though now we talk about it and I'm like, did you think I was a little, he's like, Les, a couple times I was like, I'm not sure what she's doing, but I know that she's going to figure it out. If it doesn't work, she's going to go get a job and we're going to be okay. But he's just there. He's just always there and believes in me. And it made all the difference. I mean, I think for me, a lot of it was, we didn't have any money. And so that story can sound kind of hard, but I had so much support. I have my sisters and I have my mom and dad, and I love this community, and the support really made all the difference. It really did. People, I mean, even the women who I walked into in their businesses and they gave me $200 to advertise, that is not lost on me, how rare that is of a gift to have. And so that would be my one takeaway. Find someone who will support you mentally, who can love you for who you are, and who might think you're a little bit nuts, but encourages you anyway, is like a soft place to land if you just need to talk about it. I think that can make a huge difference for people.
Yeah.
And that's what I'll tell a lot of Herview writers too. I'm like, if you feel like I don't have that, I can't find that, I just ask in the group. I think there is at least one other person out there who feels like you do, who wants to be a writer, has similar goals, and can walk with you during those hard moments. And I gotta think that in lots of jobs. A lot of people, there's other people out there who have the similar backgrounds who would want to support you too.
Yeah, there are cheerleaders everywhere, or just ask Lisa Lishaw.
Yes. Can I tell the story about Lisa quick?
Yes.
For you guys,
she's gonna love this.
I don't think I've ever really said it. So there's this woman in our writing community. Her name is Lisa, and she is. What would I do without Lisa? Like her view would not be her view without Lisa. And when she first came along, it was probably a few years after her view was published. I thought she was a spammer. She personally reached out to me, and then she had a few of their writer friends, she requested to be their friend. And they were like, Leslie, who is this? They say that you know her. Is she a spammer? And I had to talk to her. I was like, Lisa, I don't know if we should be like friending everybody. And she was like, oh, I'm sorry. And she's told me I could tell that story before, but I'm like, man, I'm so glad that I didn't think she was spam, and that I welcomed her into the community, because she has changed the landscape of that community for sure.
Yes. She is like super encouragement lady.
She's awesome. Yep. Yes.
Yeah. We all need Lisa in our life.
We do.
Well, I like to end our time with these 10 rapid fire questions, and they're super fun. I can't wait to hear your answers. So are you ready?
So I need to respond quick, and I can't give huge long answers.
Well, I'm flexible, but we'll just
go less.
Yeah. Which Disney princess would you want to take out to coffee?
Oh, Ariel.
Ariel has been very popular, so I like Ariel. She's lots
Are
of
we
fun.
all like about 40? That's probably why.
Yes.
Is that why?
That's right. She was our first princess. 5. We were being the mermaid in the bathtub. Yeah.
Yes.
What's one thing you must have on your nightstand?
Water.
What's your go-to treat after the kids go to bed?
Cheese.
Cheese. I love that. I love cheese too. I need to make that my go-to treat after the kids.
Great. It's like, how much cheese can mom have in the fridge? A lot. That's a lot. And I'm a cheese snob now. I grew up with all just the cheese in the plastic. Heck no. Now I get like the expensive cheese, which is not really expensive. It's still just pre-sliced, but it feels bigger than the fake cheese.
Now you're like, I am bougie.
Yes. Bougie with white cheese.
What's an ordinary moment that brings you great joy?
Watching movies with my kids. Well, that makes me emotional.
Oh. I love that.
I love it. I love when they're all around me. Yeah.
The last show you binged and loved?
We are currently watching Mrs. Maisel.
On Amazon?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that what it's called? Mrs. Maisel? Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
It's so good.
The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, right?
The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Yes. I also always watch Sister Wives, and I have watched that for 10 years.
I love that.
I would love to have lunch with those people and just ask how that all works. It's fascinating.
You're like, let me pick your brain. So curious.
Tell me about this.
Yes. So many questions.
So many questions.
All right. If you run out of this, besides milk, you have to go to the store.
Cheese.
I was going to be like, is it cheese?
Cheese and bread, probably. Yeah.
Who makes you laugh?
Oh, my husband.
Yep. My husband is the same. Yep. He just, even when I'm mad, he can make me laugh. And I'm like, stop. I'm so mad at you. He's like, but you're laughing.
I know. And he'll say the dumbest jokes. I'm like, what in the actual, and my sisters too. My sisters will always send me text messages and that. Yeah.
That's great. When you were 5 years old, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I thought I was either going to be a vet, my sister is actually a vet. We do not have the same brains. She is very smart. So that makes sense. But I grew up on a farm. So I thought vet, or I knew I was going to be something in TV because we didn't have cable. And my sister would tie me up to a chair and make me watch NBC News, Tom Brokaw. I love Tom, and I would watch the news, and I felt like I was going to be in news. So I feel like I'm still kind of doing that, just in a different way.
I love how you just so casually said my sister would tie me up to the chair, and that just was like the opening to that story.
I remember sitting in the kitchen, like on the old brown chairs. Because we didn't have cable. We didn't have cable. We didn't have air conditioning. I don't know. I just find that fascinating. And that's all I did was like watch TV and like Murder, She Wrote. Do you remember those shows?
Yes.
Murder,
Yep.
She Wrote, all the like the 90, when you had the TV guide and during commercial breaks, you had to get up and get your snack and then come back.
Run to the bathroom. It's on.
Yes. Our kids have no idea how good they have it. They don't even know.
I know. They're like, what is this commercial? What is this? And you're
Oh,
like,
my
you have to
son.
just sit through it. Okay. It's okay. Can we fast forward?
He does. He's like raging mad. I'm like, this is a problem. You're 5. Like, this is it. You can wait. Patience, right?
90s children learn patience through
They
the
do.
commercial breaks. Yeah. You got to just wait. Yep. All right. What are you looking forward to?
Summer. We're building a house too. So I'm super excited about that. Yes. And for the business, the book.
Yes.
I'm
going to have you back on next year when the book comes out.
I just think it's going to be, I'm either going to be right or wrong. I think it's going to be huge. So it's either going to be huge or it won't be, right? It's like, whatever.
Yeah. Tell us about the book in a nutshell.
It is Her View from Home in book form. Is that a nutshell?
Yeah, that's good.
A good enough nutshell?
Yeah, it's a collection of essays, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to come out hopefully around Mother's Day.
Yep, next spring. Yep.
Yes.
And it is really good. Like bawling, but a bawling that's like you get it type of, and the pieces are heartfelt and emotional and hard and real and very vulnerable and really weave through motherhood in all stages and ages. So yeah,
it's going to be great.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Finish this sentence. Motherhood is
beautiful. Is that like the most like easy, simple answer? That's what I always go back to, whenever we talk about how hard it is and how messy it is and how exhausting it is. It's just so good. Like, you're just so thankful at the end of all of it that you get to have these babies, right? That they get to make you. And yeah, it's everything.
Yeah. I love that. Leslie, I'm so glad we got to come on today. I love talking to you. I love your energy. I love your tears. I love you showed up with everything you are.
Thank you.
To be on the podcast. So thank you so much. I really
Thanks for letting me come on and ramble.
Yeah.
It's an honor.
No, it's great. If you want to find Leslie, check out Her View from Home. They're on Facebook, they have a website, on Instagram, and you can sign up for their emails, which are also awesome. You can also find Leslie on Facebook and Instagram, and I will share her links in the show notes. Thank you, Leslie. I'm so happy to have you on today.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Motherhood Metamorphosis. If you've enjoyed this episode, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode. Next, tell your friends. Podcasts are a slow growth type of social media, so promo works best when it's from person to person. If you know another mom who's in the goop right now, send her a text of encouragement and the link to the episode that is speaking to your heart right now. If you have a story about your own matrescence, the physical, emotional, hormonal, and social transition that occurs when someone becomes a mother, please leave a comment below. I want this channel to be a place where women can build community about the challenges and joys of their own motherhood metamorphosis. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope it encouraged you and gave you some good food for thought. If you ever have any questions, comments, or you'd like to reach out to me personally, you can email me at brittanyaming@gmail.com.
I love that you're in your closet.
Yes, these are my husband's lovely soccer ref shirts.
I love it. It works.
Yes.
Herview's actual first office, other than the kitchen table, was a little closet that we we put a desk in it and you could just shut the doors, but you'd open it. It was my desk and a light and like a little shelf.
I love that.
It was perfect.
Yeah, from the other side, it actually looks like a little space. I've got like pictures on my little desk. We got this desk on like Facebook Marketplace. So
it's your happy space.
Yeah, from this side, it's just my husband's clothes.
Yeah. Let me close out of some things here.
I was doing the same. I was like, email off.
I know. Get off. What is going to bounce up?
Ding. I'm like, now I have to edit that out.